Kongagap. So today is the Pawarana day, the day of exiting the rains retreat. And we do the Pawarana Kama. So usually on the 14th or 15th day of the lunar month, we do the recitation of the Patimokkha, the monastic discipline. So we study the Vinaya, the monastic discipline. And on this day of exiting the rains retreat, we do the Mahapawarana ceremony, the Great Invitation Day. It's a day where the Sangha gathers together and sets their heart on giving forgiveness to one another. And this giving forgiveness to one another is something important, because if we have a mind that's holding a grudge or has ill will or wishing to harm, then our meditation won't be peaceful. There was one story from the biography of Venerable Lungpu Man. He was walking on alms round, and some of the monks with him on alms round had some kind of quarrel or argument between them. And Lungpu Man warned them that if you have this kind of quarreling amongst one another, your meditation won't be peaceful. You won't be peaceful. And sometimes it'll happen that we think in these ways. We live here together like this, and people have different character types, different habits, and they don't always get along. They don't always go together. They may be opposite to one another. There's these different character types. So we're spending this time in the rains retreat together. We may think negatively about others, or have hurt feelings, or have ill will towards others, and we may not want to forgive others. Maybe there's some kind of old karma that one has with another member of the community. One feels at odds with them. One feels one doesn't get along with them. So for instance, some people, they're of a character type that's more modest and humble. Others have a character type that has a high degree of self-confidence, and others don't have this kind of self-confidence. And when these different kinds of character types get together, then quarrels and problems can arise. And some are more strict in the monastic rules and discipline. For instance, at Wat Marp, there was rules about entering the monastery, that one should take off one's shoes and hat and umbrella and so on, because it was a place of respect, a place to be respected. And there was one occasion where a lay person was going into the monastery with shoes on, and a monk said, "Oh, you can't do that, you have to take your shoes off." And in Thailand, it's a society where people take their shoes off easily. It's a normal thing. And this monk told this lay person that. And then another monk thought, well, this monk has a lot of self-confidence to behave like that. So we see that people are different like this. Their character types are different. They don't always see eye to eye. And sometimes these character types can't get along with each other, have difficulty getting along. In modern language, we can say it's like chemicals that don't mix together. They're not the same, and they don't always get along. Some people, when they sit in meditation, it looks like they're sleepy, but they actually have samadhi, they have peace and collectedness in their mind. And another person might tell them off about it, and tell them off like they're someone who's more mature or more higher up, and that person may not like that. And sometimes we think thoughts of ill will, or think negatively about others, and it can be about many various issues or topics. Some care for the Vinaya strictly. They see things that they don't think are correct or they don't agree with. And they may think, well, why do you do it like that? That's not correct. So that's an example. See, there are minds that don't get along with one another. They're at odds with one another. But we see that we are those who practice and train our hearts and minds. But there's still greed, aversion, and delusion in the minds, covering over the mind. So therefore we have this important day today, the Pawarana Day, to set our hearts anew, to set our minds anew in our behavior of body, speech, and mind. Because we see that we are those who are still learning. We are learners, the Seka Pugala. So it's normal for mistakes to be made and for infractions to occur. So therefore we give forgiveness to one another. We forgive whatever behavior may have occurred. And we practice to be humble as well, that we're ones who are able to receive criticism with humbleness and to get corrected in our behavior. And that if we tell someone about their behavior, we speak in a way that's good and kind. For instance, some monks are physically older than others, and they may be called Lungpor, which means Venerable Father, or in the Isan dialect, something like Ya Por. But if someone doesn't speak with respect, then that older monk might feel belittled, not feel happy. So Venerable Ajahn Chah said we need to be careful, have care with our behavior and speech. So you exit the rains retreat, and the Katina ceremony is coming soon. And there are many Katina ceremonies at different monasteries. And if we go to these Katina ceremonies, then we need to have restraint. Wherever we go, we bring our meditation object with us. We're going to a festival or an event that's meritorious, but we can't throw away our core source of merit, which is our meditation practice, our practice of inner development. So we practice mindfulness, practice cultivating peace and samadhi. We practice virtue to bring about wisdom. We need to have care with regards to our sila all the time, care towards our virtue, to have mindfulness about our virtue, to have mindfulness towards our bodies. And if we set our minds correctly like this, we don't need to always say Sangham Bante Pawarena, the Pali formula for inviting admonition. There's no need to do that if we set our hearts correctly. But in the monastic rules and discipline, then we chant this together on this day. And sometimes we do mistakes or do things wrong without intention. For instance, Venerable Ananda, the Buddha's attendant, he was admonished by the Sangha at the first Sangha council, and he had no intention to do wrong. For instance, when he put his foot on the Buddha's robe, but he did this without any intention. But when the Sangha admonished him, he didn't argue about it and didn't talk and didn't fight back with them, but he accepted the admonition. So this is an example. So for us, we come together and we live together here, and we're from many different places, many countries, many nationalities, but we're able to live together peacefully and harmoniously. And this is something that's difficult to do. It's not easy to come by. So at this time, we practice to have restraint to any action of body, speech, or mind, to have restraint with regards to that. And sometimes we have disliking arise towards others' behavior, and sometimes the mind feels like it did something, or one's own behavior was incorrect, and the mind feels bad. So we come to set our hearts on this ceremony of the Mahapavarana. We set our hearts to give forgiveness to one another. And this giving of forgiveness is a great type of giving. It's a giving that leads to Nibbana. So may you all set your hearts to abandon ill will, to have no thoughts of hurt or harm. And this is setting one's intention correctly. This is right intent. So may you all set your hearts on this.